Hello. Yeah, so I'm going to do a part 2 because I didn't get everything off my chest I wanted to say in my last video, so I'm calling it part 1 and I'm doing a part 2. So because I was running out of time, because uploading the way that I upload in my webcam, you get like 15 minutes, so I was kind of rushing it towards the end. But I was talking about, some failed predictions and why there are failed predictions, and it can only be one of two reasons, I think, or a mixture of the two. Some people are misinformed, well, maybe just plain stupid, okay? So that's one reason, but I don't think that's the major reason. And as I was beginning to say in my last video, towards the end, I think that sometimes it's a case, okay, consider the Illuminati. They are men and women, okay? Now I use the word Illuminati loosely, but rather than ramble on about who the bad guys are, we'll just say Illuminati for the time being. Okay, so like their plans, be it robust plans that have been around for a long time, possibly thousands of years, they are fallible. Plans can go to shit because you could have the best plan, right, and unforeseen circumstances can arise, and your plan can either be cancelled or it can be delayed. And I think that looking at history, there have been plans that are delayed, but not oftentimes. I think, no, because I was also saying in my last video that the Illuminati, they work on a timeline, and they operate in accordance to the occult, in accordance to celestial events. If you do your research, right, and look at past revolutionary events, world-changing events, that the Illuminati's hand is on all of them. Nothing happens by accident. I'm telling you, that is the truth. Alright? Nothing is just a random event. Things are intelligently orchestrated, okay? So, look at them and join the dots, okay? And this is why there are failed predictions, because this is what people do. You know, most of them are done by intelligent people that, like myself, spend hours upon hours of doing research, piecing together the jigsaw puzzle, joining the dots. And what you'll find is that events usually coincide with, things like numerology, astrology, celestial, the rising of Saturn, Venus, comets. Do your research. Do your research. Is it a coincidence that following Halley's Comet, every time Halley's Comet passes, 4 years after there's a war, a major war? No. You see, you could look at these things and you could say, oh, these are coincidences, but, it's like, when you do the maths, you realise that to believe that these are coincidences, you've got to have a lot of faith. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in little coincidences. Little coincidences happen, yes, but there comes a point where coincidence is no longer an option. For example, I was watching a documentary recently about the Egyptian pyramids, and it's funny, they were interviewing, it was a very well done documentary, it had all kinds of specialists that they were interviewing from all different fields, some in favour of alternative views of how the pyramids came about, and some that were total mainstream. And they were interviewing the mainstream Egyptologists, and they were saying, oh yeah, that's a bit weird. Yes, I admit that's weird, but it is just a coincidence. The Egyptians have no mathematical knowledge, blah blah blah. And then they would interview like a world-renowned mathematician, and the mathematician says, well, the odds of these mathematical elements surrounding the pyramids and the architecture and the mathematics. It was like, and the precision, like the fact that it was all just tied in so nicely and all incorporated a golden ratio and pi and lighted up to the speed of light. You know, they just, it's just, it's not coincidence. Okay, and it's interesting because everyone has their place. You know, everyone is a specialist in a particular field, and everyone has something to contribute and bring to the table. So, you know, and I'm not, this video isn't about the Egyptian pyramids, I'm just trying to illustrate a point. You know, so, you know, regarding the Egyptian pyramids, you know, you don't just like consider the Egyptologist viewpoint, because, right, two reasons. Number one, the Egyptologist doesn't specialize in everything regarding the pyramids. You know, it's like a general study, like a GP, a general practitioner. You go to your local GP, your local doctor. He's not a specialist in neurology or cardiology. It's general, okay? And also, let's not forget the fact that Egyptologists, like the majority of them are Egyptian, and what's Egypt? A Muslim country, and you know, they don't want to upset the apple cart. They're not allowed to. If an Egyptologist came forward and said, "Oh yeah, blimmin' heck, our archaeological diggings have proven X, Y, and Z," and if it kind of upsets Islam or even Christianity, or you know, just anything mainstream that's gonna like alter all the textbooks, then it's just not allowed. They just can't do it. It just won't happen. It will never happen. Okay, so then you start interviewing like architects, and they are like envious of what am I going on about? I'm not even talking. This isn't even supposed to be about the pyramids in Egypt, right? I'm getting off subject, totally off subject. I have been for several minutes, so forget about that. But that is a very interesting subject. So let's go back to the topic at hand. So we're talking about failed predictions. We're talking about the timeline. Yeah. So basically, I think that, I mean, let's not forget, okay, at the time of this, like September 27th, and this whole everyone going to Denver, around that time, now this is going to be confusing to many of you, because this is something that's not on the mainstream. If you want to know what's really going on in the world, you don't just look at the mainstream news, because it's selective. It's just like all the news is selected that is like, it's okay to know, it's not going to upset the apple cart, or news that kind of ties in with the psyops and propaganda that is appropriate, you know, the way that they kind of steer us to think. Yeah. Okay, so you know, if you dig and delve and go to credible alternative news sources, and you get a bit bigger of a picture of what's going on in the world. And so do your research, come to your own conclusion. But around this time, and again, I was talking about the war that's going on between like different secret society groups on the earth. There's a war for humankind. There's a war for you and me. It's like a world war. It's like a major war, and it's happening right around us. Yeah, but we're all oblivious. Okay, and there have been bombings of deep underground military bases. The DC earthquake and the Colorado earthquake. If you look at the data, and you look at the whole thing surrounding these earthquakes, they weren't natural earthquakes. There were no pre-shocks or aftershocks. They were just like earthquakes in places that don't generally have earthquakes. And there is evidence, if you research it, to suggest that there were nuclear bombs underground and they were destroying nuclear bases. What do you call it? Underground bunkers, bases, whatever. Okay. Also, I mean, research the Japan quake. It was an attack. That was not a natural event either. It sounds ludicrous. It sounds like I'm crazy. But check it out for yourself. Every bold statement I make, right, rather than go into all the ins and outs, which I could, because I'm not adverse to collect, gathering all my research and posting links. I know people do that on their YouTube videos. They gather their links and put the links in and go into a lot of detail to substantiate what they say. But I'm not really interested in substantiating what I say, and I'll tell you why. It's because my agenda isn't to convert people to my way of thinking. My agenda is not to prove my point, right? I spend hours doing research, right? So what I encourage you to do, right, don't believe what I say, right, but draw your own conclusions based on your own research, right? Use Google and decide for yourself what sources are credible, what sources are a bit iffy, and research it yourself and draw your own conclusions. And that way, yeah, you probably will be converted, but converted to what? I don't belong to an organisation, right? What I want to convert humanity to is an awakened mind, right? And that brings me to my next point, because what's going on right now, by way of Earth changes, there are some failed predictions and things. I don't know if they've been delayed or whatever, or what's going on. I just don't know what's going on, right? But as far as the awakening and the consciousness shift, it's happening. It's happening. There's a lot going on, and I'll tell you what's going on, right? Just briefly, and again, do your own research. But basically, the monetary system is going to shift, right? And that's probably no surprise to you, because we all know it, right? The monetary system is never going to work forever. We've got by on it for so many thousands of years, right? But it's got to a point, it's just silly. I was having a conversation with a dear friend of mine recently, and we were talking about it for a long time, and she highlighted some interesting things to me. You see, the trouble is that the money isn't backed by anything. I mean, it used to be, it was gold. I mean, your money is it's promissory notes. If I hold up a £20 note, it's a promissory note. It says I promise to pay the bearer on demand, right? So what does that mean? It means that you can take that money as an IOU, and if you took it to the bank, and you can demand gold, or you can demand sterling. I mean, what's sterling? Sterling is silver. I mean, it's not, money is supposed to be something that is backed by something, right? A piece of paper that's backed by something material, something of some worth. But now, right, money is just virtual. It's a number on a computer screen, and all the money in the world. You hear people talking of trillions of dollars and trillions and billions and trillions, and it doesn't exist, right? If every man and woman went to the cash machine, to the ATM machine, and withdrew their money, there'd be a crisis, because the money doesn't exist, because there's trillions and trillions of it out there, shared among us all. Well, when I say shared among us all, about 1% have 99% of it, right? I mean, there's not very much among us guys, okay, but money is it's just thin air. It's nothing, and now it's all coming to a head, and it's just getting ridiculous, and everything's about to crash. And but the positive of that, people are becoming awake and realizing that, what, this world system that we live in sucks, right? This whole monetary system, government system, it sucks. And people are beginning to awaken to the fact that, what, we are human beings living on our planet, and we're being taken advantage of, and we're being controlled and manipulated and enslaved. And people are beginning to realise, what, this isn't how life should be. And that is step one. We're right on the brink of a mass awakening, a mass shift of consciousness, and that is what this whole 2012 thing is all about, right? This is what, the new age, right? We're going into a new age. Well, what is the new age? We're talking about a new beginning, a planet of human beings that are not gonna take it lying down anymore. They know who they are, and we know our